Hey, I want to show you something super cool and very exciting. I think this is a kind of a breakthrough in chatbot because the chatbot I'm going to show you takes RAG pattern and NL2SQL pattern and put them together so that you can chat about anything on your data. You can ask questions about textual information that are saved in textual columns, and in that case, the RAG pattern will be executed using semantic search in vector search behind the scene. But you can also ask any question around structured data, like how many rows there are related to certain things. Like, for example, the database I'm going to use is the database I used at SQL Konferenz last week with information about the session delivered at the conference. So you can ask all the sorts of information like how many sessions there are in English or how many sessions there are on this topic, which normally wouldn't be able to be answered only by RAG, retrieval augmented generation, but it requires an L2SQL. And the beautiful part of this bot that I'm going to show you, which by the way, it's available also as a repo on GitHub, is that it can easily move from RAG to NL-SQL thanks to semantic kernel integration. And you will see, you'll have the feeling that you are really chatting with a person. It's amazing. So let me show you. Let's start the application just by doing .NET run chat. Then the bot will start, connect to LLM. I'm injecting some memories because there are information that I want this bot to have that were not available when the snapshot of the knowledge of this bot was taken. And actually, let's ask him when the snapshot was taken. Hi, when the snapshot of your knowledge was taken. And I think it's April 2023. You see, this is the memory that I'm injecting in the bot. The memories are stored as vectors in Azure SQL, and thanks to vector search, we can now just we can allow the bot to do similarity search, but this information are not used right now. So let's ask something about those memories that I'm injecting. So let's ask, I'm interested in AI on my own data. My data is stored in Azure SQL. Is there anything in preview that I can use to build a modern AI application on my own data? And let's see what is the answer. The answer is that the semantic kernel searched through the memory, learns that we have Azure SQL in early adopter preview, learns that semantic kernel has been enhanced to also use Azure SQL. And yes, it's now say, yeah, you can take advantage of Azure SQL support for vector, which is in kernel in parallel preview, and so on and so forth. So the first step is the bot is able to access memories stored in Azure SQL database thanks to the new vector support that we have been working on. Now, let's start to do something very interesting. As a human, I would just ask, okay, that's great, is good information. Is there any session at the SQL conference that is related to that topic? And that is something that you probably normally automatically infer from the content. In this case, it's probably Azure SQL and AI. So let's see if the bot is able to do that too. So is there any session on that at SQL conference? And let's see. So the semantic kernel library is able to use the LLM behind the scene to understand that in order to search about that, and that is Azure SQL Vector Support, it needs to call a function that I created that I enabled the semantic kernel to use, name it get session similar to topic, that will get this parameter, and this parameter is something that LLM came up with on its own that represents the subject I was asking when I said that. And then it's doing vector search on the session that I have in my table. This is a RAG pattern because it is looking in the description and the abstract and the title of the session, right? So it's not running a query, it's actually running a stored procedure that is behind this function that is doing vector search on Azure SQL. So far, so good. Is the regular RAG pattern. I mean, it's cool, but it's not exciting in my opinion, because we need something more like, okay, cool. There is a building AI ready application. Now, the thing that I may want to know right now is, okay, cool, that's a good session. What are the other session in the track? So what is the track in which that session is? So cool. In which track is the first session? And let's see if it understands first and if it understands how to extract the track, which is not available here, right? Okay, so that's where I think the things start to be very interesting. The semantic kernel, again, using the LLM behind the scene, understand that it needs to query the database. And I created a query function that is able to actually create the SQL and ask the LLM to actually create the correct T-SQL query to be executed against my database. And this is the logical query that needs to be executed. Select track from web session, but track in my database is actually saved as part of a JSON value. So I instructed the LLM model with some prompt engineering that, again, you will be able to see in the GitHub repo, that the way to extract data into SQL is using JSON value. So here it's using the information taken from the previous chat, which is the ID of the first session, and using it to extract the information using a structured query, in this case about the track of that session. So now it says, yeah, the building AI-ready application is in the analytics and data science track. Now, the other question I want to know as a human is, perfect. What are the other sessions in the same track? And as you can see, I'm really discussing with the chat in a very natural way, and this time without basically limitation, because I'm asking anything that ranges from, data stored in text, like abstract of the sessions, to structured data, like can you list all the track in the same session? And here I have all the session in the same track, and this is the query that the AI model was able to come up with on its own. Again, thanks to the function I created that helps the AI model to understand how my data is saved in my database and then generate the right query. So this is the logical query that would have been executed, and this is the T-SQL query based on my database structure that is actually executed, and it just works. Now you can see here that there are some session in German that, of course, I will not be able to understand. So can you list only the English sessions? And in this case, let's see what happens. Yeah, now it is doing something quite interesting because both the track and the language are saved in a column called details that contains JSON data. And now I only have the list of the English session. And as you can see, I was able to move from, again, RAG to NL2SQL in a very natural way. Now let me do the last question. I think is the most awesome one. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Now, what you would ask to a human, probably, okay, there are 15 sessions, what you would recommend me to go, right? So that's fantastic. What you would recommend me to go if I'm interested in building an app on my own data, an app with AI on my own data. So maybe let's say what session you would recommend sessions, and let's see what happens. Again, I'm just doing it with you right now, and so in this case is basically using the information already extracted before. So the list of the session here, the additional information that we got before, so we basically is able to give us the answer without having to query database and doing RAG or NL2SQL. So this is pretty cool. As you can see, I'm really chatting with my own database in a very, very natural way, and I can really ask anything here. Is for example, I can also ask, is Davide presenting? And let's see. Now is searching for me, for searching, and yeah, I'm presenting. So again, you can go on, and I really encourage you to go and download the repository and play with your own data, because this feels another level, right? The moment you put RAG NL2SQL together, you really unlock the power of chatbot and AI to a level that I don't think it was available before. So I'm super excited. Azure SQL, semantic kernel, RAG NL2SQL. Just give it a try and let me know what you think. But I think this is really, really exciting. Have fun.